Welcome to Sunshine Cathedral Queer God Squad. It's Wednesday, July the 17th, 2024. I am Reverend Dr. Robert Griffin, the Executive Minister. Faith and religion can be complicated for the LGBTQ plus community. Surveys show that evangelical faith is the justification for the greatest attacks on the LGBTQ plus community.
I am Reverend Kevin Tisdall, the Minister of Education. The Queer God Squad is going to explore our religious community. Let's explore the big news of the day and what it means to you.
I am Reverend Dr. Ann Atwell, the Minister of Connections. This is live, and then we are available on demand. If our community is important to you, share this news with your friends and family. Join the conversation on your favorite streaming platform and social media. At Sunshine Cathedral, we are here to tell you that you are God's miracle, not God's mistake.
This is the Sunshine Cathedral perspective. In this 1970 clip, we see June Lockhart defending homosexuality with Reverend Troy Perry. In a groundbreaking moment on the Virginia Graham Show in 1970, actress June Lockhart and founder of the Metropolitan Community Churches, Reverend Troy Perry, addressed the issue of homophobia with grace and intellect. Remember, this live moment was less than a year after New York's Stonewall riots. The conversation begins with discussion on natural law and homosexuality with Reverend Perry, the founder of the Metropolitan Community Churches, emphasized that humans are allowed to find happiness whether in heterosexual or homosexual relationships. He also points out that homosexuality has historically represented a consistent minority between 4 to 10% of the population. And the Metropolitan Community Church's role is to provide a place of worship for those who feel excluded. To add to the conversation, June Lockhart argues that one should not moralize about an experience they haven't lived.
So, June, yes, if you'll move down, darling.
I feel like it's wrong then not to have children, anyone not to have children. Is this true?
What? No. Yes, I think it's too bad for them. I don't think it's... But that is not a sin against the law of nature.
Well, it's not against the sin of law of nature to be a homosexual. Animals have homosexual acts with each other. Go to the San Diego Zoo, watch the monkeys.
But you know what God gave us that he didn't give animals? He gave us the intellect and the self-discipline and the sense of values. So
that's correct, to be happy human beings. And if there are those individuals who happen to be heterosexual, I agree with the doctor, there are those individuals who are very happy in a homosexual relationship. And they would be very unhappy in a heterosexual relationship.
Basically, what I was saying was that we don't thoroughly understand it yet, and that we should not categorize it or condone it or deny it. We have to understand it.
Yeah, but June, you wanted to say something.
I was just going to say, Virginia, I'm just a guest here, but if you'll forgive me, I don't think you should moralize about it if you've never been a homosexual. Because you have to...
Are you kidding? You don't think I should moralize about taking dope or moralize about shooting and killing
if I've never killed anybody? Dope and killing. We're talking about homosexuality.
And if we're killing in civilization,
it has nothing to do with the other two things. Don't get off your subject.
We must say this, though. You have to remember homosexuality throughout history has never risen above from 4 to 10%, probably. We have information. We have statistics that will bear this out.
Won't a church like yours make it rise more?
No. We're only helping those who are already homosexual. We're not trying to convert people to homosexuality. That's not our reason at all. Our reason is to give a place of worship where homosexuals who feel like they have been denied the right of the church can come and seek God without any
But
problems.
now wait, do you think it's a condition that should be cured?
No, I don't.
Just look at it.
With compassion.
I believe that there are some cases, certainly.
I believe that there are cases, Doctor, where there are individuals who are certainly neurotic and who have been conditioned to be neurotic by this society, who cannot come to terms with the homosexual and who doesn't understand his problems. And in society, we have him as being sick, criminal, or the other thing of being sinful with the church.
Now, may I explain something? Because you make me sound hard and calloused, and I'm not. I have many homosexual friends, and I have found them to be talented and brilliant and charming. But we've never discussed it any more than they've asked my personal habits.
Ask them.
Yeah.
Yes.
Your friends that are homosexuals,
Mm-hmm.
what do you feel about them?
I adore them and never discuss it. I've had one friend for 7 years whom I was told, is that way. And any more than I would ask I love the language. No, but any more than I would expect anybody to ask me what Harry and I do in our private life.
Virginia, I've heard you talk about what you and Harry do.
No, what we don't do. Never. Listen, Jean.
It has been over 50 years since this show aired. The community certainly has come a long way since then. However, there is a lot to be done on social acceptance of the LGBTQ plus community. Queer God Squad admires Reverend Troy Perry and likes who strive to create a safe place for queer faith community. Sunshine Cathedral of Fort Lauderdale aims to do the same through its several initiatives and programs. At Sunshine Cathedral, we believe that the sacred value of all people is our creed. Thank God for technology and from where we've come from. Just looking at that from all those years ago, and just thinking about the social, political, religious climate that it was back then, and I almost wonder, is it undifferent now than it was back then? I've been a part of MCC for over 30 something years, and my first experience of MCC was actually when I was stationed in Charleston, South Carolina. And it was the MCC of Charleston then, and it was a great little place. And I remember being, as I transitioned into MCC, one of the first things that was required reading for us, and I don't know if you can see this or not, where I need to put it, it's a book by Troy Perry it's called Don't Be Afraid Anymore. And in this book, one of the things that spoke to me passionate about Troy and his mission for MCC back then was what he called the three-pronged gospel.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
And Troy preached about the three-pronged gospel at the very first service in his home in Huntington Park in California for the very first service of MCC. And I want to take just a minute to read what Troy talked about in that three-pronged gospel. He said, beginning the service, I told our gathering what Metropolitan Community Churches was going to be, and I told them I would preach what God had told me to preach, a three-pronged gospel. Salvation. God so loved the world that God sent Jesus to tell us that whoever believes should not perish but have everlasting life. The second point was on community. For those who have no families who care about them, who find themselves alone or friendless, the church will be a family. Mm-hmm. And his last one was around Christian social action. Mm. We would stand up for all rights, secular, religious, and we would start fighting the many forms of tyranny that oppressed us. And I'm thinking from that interview to when this book was penned to today in 2024, those three prongs are still just as relevant for our community as Metropolitan Community Churches does, and as well as Sunshine Cathedral does, is to stand up for those folks who cannot have a voice, mm-hmm. to stand up be a community for those who are yes. feeling isolated or desolated, and to be that place of Christian love that shares it with everyone. So I admire Reverend Troy Perry. I always have. He's been my mentor for many, many years. And so several of the people around him have been my mentors. But to look at this clip reminds me of where we were, where we come from, and where we might yet be headed back to again.
Mm. Mm-hmm. It's interesting to see that. When I started my ministry with MCC, and Robert, you were part of that, that's been... Oh my, it's been a few years ago now. It's been, probably 15, 16 years ago now, something like that. We had to watch that video, which was the first time that I saw that. And to see it again today as part of this, we've come a long way. We've come a really long way. And yet, it's that both and. Yep. Mm-hmm. And here we are again. And there are things happening. People are questioning the value of our church and questioning what it is that we preach and teach, that all people have sacred value. That's foreign to some people really kind of astonishes me, I guess maybe is a good way to put that. But I so honor and respect Reverend Troy Perry and what he has done. It has changed my life.
Yes.
And I can only speak for myself, but I'll bet it has changed a lot of other lives too.
Indeed.
Yeah.
Indeed.
Ditto. This program came out in 1969, I guess, right after Stonewall.
I think it said 70.
All right, 1970.
Yeah.
Not long after Stonewall.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
In 1970, it was still considered by the American Psychological Association, homosexuality was still considered a dis-ease.
Right.
It wasn't until 1973 that they got their heads from out of their butts and said, no, Throughout humanity, there is a spectrum of love, and same gender attraction is no different than any other attraction. It's for that person. I love that June Lockhart says to Virginia Graham, and I remember watching Virginia Graham's show. I'm old enough to remember watching that show. And I remember that this wild-haired woman was, I don't know what I want to equate her with today, but an ultra-conservative, nevertheless. And she espoused some thoughts that really were right field. And June Lockhart, to just sit there and go, if you ain't done it, keep your mouth shut. So there's that. And so 1973 comes along and says that homosexuality is not a dis-ease. And here's little gay Kevin in 1973 with his first boyfriend. So all of that kind of envelops what I remember. The other part that I remember about religion, while in my church that I grew up, there was never an overt conversation about homosexuality being right, wrong, or indifferent. I had that feeling that maybe I wasn't in the right place. I wasn't ready for church. And I walked away from church in the mid-70s and did not come back to organized church until 1996. When a friend of ours, my husband and me, a friend of ours introduced us to MCC of DC. He told us one Saturday night when we usually went down to DC to hang out, he said, oh, well, I can't really hang out very late because I've got to go to church in the morning. We're like, church? Are you friggin' kidding me? So the next time we went from Staten Island to DC, we went to MCC DC and discovered that there are churches in 1996, 1997, that didn't just say, we'll let you sing in the choir, we'll let you direct the choir. We are the Church United. So that was an eye-opener for me. So here it is now, 1997, and our pastor is heading to Australia for a general conference for MCC. He's looking for people to preach. So he comes to me and he goes, well, I think you have a word or two that you can share. So the first time I ever preached was at an MCC church while the rest of the folk were in Australia. And the rest kind of is history. I do want to say one more thing about what Virginia Graham said. She said, some of my best friends.
Haven't we all got those?
When you hear that, that is a big red flag. If you've got to say that some of my best friends are anything, then what you're saying is that I'm really keeping them to the side, but I put them out when I need to show that I'm a decent person.
That's one thing. I play the car when I have to.
I play the car when I have to.
Look at me. Look at how kind and warm I am.
Yeah, despite what's going on. And despite the fact I need to stand up for everyone's rights, everyone thing, I'm just going to do it when I feel comfortable.
That's right.
When in my comfort zone. And I like how June comes like, you have talked about stuff about what you and your husband does.
We
don't want to go there. But I think I appreciate this story for his historical context. It also highlights the work of a man I adore to this day, Reverend Troy Perry, and he and his husband Philip, I think they've been together for about 40 years now. And so he has been an example of what it means to be faithful to God, what it means to be faithful to church, and what it means to be authentic and to be yourself. And Troy has led that way for many, many years. And I just can only imagine the countless of people who thought they were the only one, who may have thought that they were the only one that could ever be gay, ever be Christian, and even including becoming a minister or being in ministry. I mean, he has been the example of his Pentecostal background of reshaping and reclaiming. His first sermon, I think, was called "Be True to Yourself." He has always been true to himself, and if you have ever had a chance to meet Reverend Troy Perry, he is just one of those people. He's from Florida, by the way, so he has that Southern Tallahassee thing still going on, but it's just Southern charm that comes out of him in such a way that makes you want to reclaim whatever harm the church may have done to you.
Right.
And I think this is an example of where we can say, this is how the church can help us recover from the trauma that so many have experienced in life.
Right.
Sunshine Cathedral is that place, can be that for you, and it can be the experience that you might need, because we look at things from the point of liberation and wholeness, and not holding people back, but moving people forward and giving them that space to grow and to explore. But we say it's more important to ask questions than find the answers.
Yes.
Right. And Reverend Elder Troy and his husband Philip watch Sunshine Cathedral worship service almost every Sunday.
Almost every Sunday when they check in. So thank you for sharing this story with us, and we again appreciate the history of all that Reverend Perry has done for the MCC movement and for the movement of liberation, the queer movement as well. So he's been a trailblazer with a lot of organizations in his lifetime. Well, that's today with Queer News with the Queer God's God. We want to thank you for joining us. We are here daily at 3 p.m. to have some fun and discuss what our LGBTQ plus community is talking about.
Sunshine Cathedral is the world's largest progressive queer church. Progressive, queer, and God are words that naturally should go together. And we are all in this together. Remember that.
You are God's miracle, not God's mistake. Until next time, we are the Queer God Squad. Goodbye.